I thought I knew the rules. Do not enter the West Wing. Do not look at him. But tonight, the storm broke all the rules. I found him alone. Shirtless. Vulnerable. For the first time, the dragon wasn't looking at me like a master looking at a servant. He was looking at me like a man, starving. He told me that dragons burn the world to protect their treasure. I didn't realize that I was the treasure. But just as his lips brushed mine, the lights died. And the monster returned. Lock the door behind me. Do not open it for anyone. The fortress has been breached. And tonight, the dragon goes to war. Earlier that day, the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. For 3 days, the silence had settled over the hallways like dust. Since the night in the dining room, since the wall slam and the revelation of the screens, Joon-Woo had been a phantom. Nia saw his car leave before dawn and return long after she had locked herself in her suite. But tonight, the storm kept her awake. Thunder rolled over the hills of Pyeongchang-dong, shaking the foundation of the house. Lightning flashed, illuminating her room in harsh, strobe light bursts. Nia couldn't sleep. The image of her father on that screen, and the men watching him, played on a loop in her mind. She needed water. She needed to move. She slipped out of her room. The hallway was dark, the shadows stretching long and thin. She crept down the grand staircase, her bare feet silent on the marble. She was heading for the kitchen when she saw the light. It was spilling from the slightly ajar door of the library. A warm, flickering orange glow that danced against the dark wood of the floor. Nia stopped. She should go back. She knew the rules. Do not enter the master's private spaces. But curiosity was a dangerous pull. She stepped closer. She pushed the door open just an inch. Kang Joon-Woo was there. He was sitting in a high-backed leather wingchair near the fireplace. A half-empty tumbler of whiskey sat on the small table beside him. And he was shirtless. Nia's breath hitched. She had seen him shirtless that first night, but that had been in chaos and darkness. Now, in the glow of the firelight, she saw him clearly. His back was a canvas of violence and art. The black ink of the dragon didn't just cover his arm, it sprawled across his shoulder blades, its scales detailed and sharp, its claws digging into his spine. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. He was holding a small jar of ointment, trying awkwardly to reach a spot high on his shoulder, right where the dragon's head roared against his neck. He winced, a hiss of pain escaping his lips. Nia didn't think. She just spoke. You're going to make it bleed if you stretch like that. Joon-Woo froze. He didn't cover himself. He didn't shout. He slowly lowered his hand and turned his head. The firelight cast half his face in shadow, making his eyes look like burning coals. You are awake, he said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. The storm, Nia whispered, stepping into the room. I couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He looked at the jar in his hand, then back at her. The silence stretched between them, heavy with the memory of the last time they were this close. The wall. The heat. It's fresh ink, he said, his voice low. The artist went over the old lines. It burns. Nia walked forward. She felt like she was walking into a lion's den, but her legs moved on their own. She stopped beside his chair. Let me, she said. She held out her hand. Joon-Woo hesitated. He looked at her small, dark hand, then at his own scarred, tattooed skin. He looked like he wanted to tell her to leave. He looked like he wanted to warn her that he was dangerous. Instead, he handed her the jar. Nia dipped her fingers into the cool, medicinal-smelling balm. She moved behind him. His skin was hot. Feverishly hot. She touched his shoulder. Joon-Woo's muscles tensed instantly, hard as rock under her fingertips. Relax, she whispered. Slowly, painfully, he exhaled. His shoulders dropped. Nia worked the ointment into the angry, red skin around the black ink. She traced the lines of the dragon. Up the spine. Over the shoulder blade. The contrast of her dark hand against his pale skin was stark, hypnotic. "Why a dragon?" she asked softly, her voice barely audible over the crackling fire. Joon-Woo stared into the flames. He didn't answer immediately. He took a sip of whiskey, the glass clinking against his teeth. "In the myths," he said, his voice rumbling through his chest, vibrating against her fingers, "dragons are not heroes. They are monsters. They burn villages. They steal gold." He turned his head slightly, trying to catch her eye. "But they also protect," he murmured. "Dragons hoard what they treasure, Nia. They wrap themselves around it. And they burn anyone who tries to touch it." Nia's hand stilled on his shoulder. The air in the room suddenly felt charged, electric. "Is that what I am?" she whispered. "A treasure you hoarded?" Joon-Woo reached up. He caught her hand, stopping her. He didn't crush her wrist this time. He laced his fingers through hers, pulling her around the chair until she was standing between his knees. He looked up at her. The arrogance was gone. There was only a raw, naked hunger. "You are the only thing in this house that isn't cold," he said. He pulled her closer. Nia didn't resist. She felt the heat radiating off him, melting her fear. She looked at his lips. He looked at hers. "Sir." "Joon-Woo," he corrected roughly. "Say my name." "Joon-Woo." He leaned forward. His free hand came up to cup her jaw, his thumb brushing against her bottom lip. Nia closed her eyes, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The storm outside was forgotten. The danger was forgotten. There was only him. His lips brushed hers, a feather-light touch that promised ruin. Crash. The room plunged into darkness. The fire was the only light left, but even that seemed to dim as the hum of the electricity died. The music system cut out. The security lights outside blinked off. Joon-Woo pulled back instantly. The vulnerability vanished from his face, replaced by the mask of the dragon. He looked at the digital clock on the desk. Blank. He looked at the security panel on the wall. Dead. "Stay here," he ordered, his voice icy. He stood up, grabbing a handgun from the drawer of the side table. He racked the slide. "Joon-Woo." Nia whispered, fear rushing back in a cold tide. "What happened? Is it the storm?" "No," Joon-Woo said, moving toward the door, his body moving with the lethal grace of a soldier. "The generator should have kicked in instantly. This isn't the storm." He looked back at her one last time. "Lock the door behind me. Do not open it for anyone but me." He slipped out into the darkness. Nia rushed to the door, fumbling with the lock. She clicked it shut. Then, she heard it. Glass shattering. Not a cup. Not a window. It sounded like a massive pane of glass exploding. And then, heavy boots running on the marble floor. Nia backed away from the library door, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She looked around for a weapon, a heavy book, a statue, anything. She grabbed a heavy brass letter opener from the desk, clutching it until her knuckles turned white. The door handle rattled. Violently. "Open up," a muffled voice growled from the other side. It wasn't Joon-Woo. Nia didn't breathe. She stepped back into the shadows of the bookshelves. Crack. The wood around the lock splintered. A heavy boot kicked the door again. And again. With a final, sickening crunch, the door flew open. Two men stepped into the flickering firelight. They wore black tactical gear and ski masks. They didn't look like thieves. They looked like soldiers. "Check the room," the first man commanded. The viper wants her alive. Nia pressed herself against the cold wood of the shelf, praying to become invisible. But the room was small. The second man swept his flashlight across the darkness. The beam hit her face, blinding her. Got her, he grunted. He lunged. Nia swung the letter opener wildly. It scraped against the man's tactical vest, useless. He backhanded her, a sharp, stinging blow that sent her sprawling to the rug. Don't damage the goods, the first man warned, stepping forward to zip-tie her hands. Minho wants to play with her before he negotiates. The man reached down, grabbing Nia by her hair. She screamed, a raw sound of terror that echoed through the high ceilings. Bang! The man holding her hair didn't let go. He simply dissolved. His head snapped back, a spray of red mist erupting into the air, and he collapsed to the floor, dead weight on top of her. Nia scrambled backward, gasping for air, covered in blood that wasn't hers. Joon-Woo stood in the doorway. He was a nightmare brought to life. He was still shirtless, his pale skin now streaked with soot and sweat. The dragon tattoo on his chest seemed to heave with every breath. He held the gun with terrifying stability, smoke curling from the barrel. The second intruder raised his weapon. Joon-Woo didn't hesitate. He dropped the gun, empty, and crossed the room before the man could pull the trigger. It wasn't a fight. It was an execution. Joon-Woo tackled the man into the heavy oak desk. Bones cracked. The intruder drew a combat knife, slashing wildly. Joon-Woo! Nia screamed. The blade flashed in the firelight. It carved a deep, jagged line across Joon-Woo's forearm, but he didn't even flinch. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisting it with a sickening pop, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. The intruder crumpled to the floor and didn't move. Silence rushed back into the room, heavier than before. Joon-Woo stood over the body, his chest heaving. Blood was dripping from his arm, pooling on the expensive Persian rug. He looked wild, primal, terrifying. He turned slowly to look at Nia. For a second, she thought he didn't recognize her. His eyes were completely black, dilated with adrenaline and violence. Nia, he breathed, the name tearing out of his throat. He fell to his knees beside her. He didn't care about the blood. He didn't care about the bodies. He reached out with shaking hands, cupping her face, searching her for injuries. Did they hurt you? He demanded, his voice cracking. Answer me. I'm okay, Nia sobbed, grabbing his wrists. I'm okay. But you're bleeding. It doesn't matter, he whispered. He pulled her into his chest, burying his face in her neck. He held her so tight it hurt, rocking her slightly. I was almost too late. I was almost too late. Nia could feel his heart beating against hers. It was racing, erratic. The dragon was trembling. The morning sun brought no warmth to the mansion. It only exposed the wreckage. The library was cordoned off. The bodies were gone, removed by cleanup crews that moved like ghosts. The broken glass was swept away. Nia sat in the dining room, staring at a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Her hands were clean now, scrubbed raw, but she could still feel the phantom sensation of blood on her skin. The doors opened. Joon-Woo walked in. He was dressed in a pristine black suit, buttoned up to his chin. His arm was in a sling. His hair was slicked back perfectly. The wild, vulnerable man from the night before was gone. The master was back. He didn't look at her. He walked to the head of the table and placed a thick manila envelope on the mahogany surface. Eat, he said coldly. You have a long flight. Nia stood up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. What? Joon-Woo tapped the envelope. Your passport. A plane ticket to Lagos departing at noon. And a cashier's check for 50 million won. He finally looked at her. His eyes were dead. Empty. The debt is paid. The contract is void. You are leaving. I don't want the money, Nia said, walking toward him. And I'm not leaving. Not after last night. Especially after last night. Joon-Woo shouted. The mask slipped. For a second, the anguish broke through. Look around you, Nia. Look at this house. It is not a home. It is a battlefield. Last night, Minho's men got inside. Next time, it will be a bomb. Next time, it will be a sniper. He stepped closer, towering over her, using his size to intimidate her, to push her away. I told myself I could keep you. I told myself I could lock you in a tower and keep the monsters away. But I am the monster, Nia. And I almost got you killed. You saved me, Nia argued, reaching for his good hand. He snatched it away as if her touch burned him. I am the reason you needed saving, he hissed. He turned his back to her, looking out the window at the driveway. The black sedan was waiting. The engine was running. Go back to Nigeria, he said, his voice flat and final. Find a nice man who doesn't have blood under his fingernails. Build your buildings. Forget this place. Forget me. You don't mean that, Nia whispered. I do. He gripped the windowsill until his knuckles turned white. Get in the car, Nia. Or I will have the guards drag you into it. Nia stared at his back. She waited for him to turn around. She waited for him to look at her with that hunger, that possessiveness. But he didn't move. He stood like a stone statue, cold and unyielding. Tears pricked her eyes, hot and fast. She grabbed the envelope from the table. Fine, she said, her voice shaking. I'll go. But you are a coward, Kang Joon-Woo. You are not a dragon. You are just a man afraid to be happy. She turned and ran. She ran out of the dining room, down the hall, and out the front door. She didn't look back. She got into the black sedan and slammed the door. The car pulled away, tires crunching on the gravel. Inside the dining room, Joon-Woo watched the car disappear down the winding hill. As soon as it vanished around the bend, his legs gave out. He sank to the floor, leaning his head against the wall, and closed his eyes. He had saved her life. But he had just destroyed his own. The black sedan wound its way down the Pyeongchang-dong hills. The city of Seoul sprawled out below, a sea of gray concrete and gray sky. Nia sat in the back seat, clutching the manila envelope. Inside was her freedom. The ticket to Lagos was first class. The check was enough to buy her father a new shop, a new house, a new life. It was everything she had prayed for in the beginning. She looked out the window. The rain had started again, tracing lonely paths down the glass. She closed her eyes and saw him. Not the monster the world saw. Not the master who barked orders. She saw the man sitting by the fire, in pain, letting her touch his scars. She saw the man who had thrown himself in front of a knife for her without hesitation. Dragons hoard what they treasure. He hadn't sent her away because he didn't want her. He had sent her away because he loved her too much to watch her bleed. Nia looked at the check again. It was just paper. Cold, dead paper. She looked at the driver's reflection in the rearview mirror. Stop the car, she said. The driver, a stoic man in a black suit, didn't look back. Mr. Kang's orders are to take you directly to Incheon Airport, Mississippi. I said stop the car. Nia shouted, her voice ringing with a newfound authority. The driver hesitated, then pulled over to the shoulder of the wet road. Nia didn't get out. She leaned forward, gripping the headrest. Take me back. The driver looked at her in the mirror, his eyes wide. Miss, if I take you back, the master will kill me. He was very clear. If you don't take me back, Nia said, her voice steady and hard, I will walk back up this hill in the rain. And when I get there, I will tell him you left me on the side of the road. The driver stared at her. He saw the fire in her eyes. He sighed, put the car in gear, and made a U-turn. The sun was setting by the time the car crunched back onto the gravel driveway. The mansion loomed against the purple sky, dark and silent. Nia got out. She didn't take her suitcase. She didn't take the envelope. She walked up the stone steps and pushed the heavy front doors open. They were unlocked. The house was silent. She walked to the dining hall. Joon-Woo was there. He was sitting at the head of the table, exactly where she had left him hours ago. The room was dark, unlit by candles or lamps. He was staring at the empty chair across from him, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked like a king ruling over a kingdom of ash. "You missed your flight," he said. His voice was rough, devoid of emotion. He didn't turn around. "I told the driver to make sure you got on that plane." "He tried," Nia said, her voice echoing in the vast room. "I made him turn around." Joon-Woo stood up slowly. He turned to face her. His face was a mask of exhaustion and anger. "Why?" he demanded. "Are you stupid? Do you have a death wish?" "No," Nia said, walking closer. She stopped a few feet away from him. "I have a life wish. There is no life here." Joon-Woo shouted, smashing his glass against the wall. Shards of crystal rained down on the floor. "There is only blood. There is only danger. Minho is gone, but there will be another. And another. I cannot keep you safe, Nia." "I didn't ask you to keep me safe," Nia shouted back. "I asked you to let me stay." She took a breath, stepping over the broken glass. "I told you the first night. I wanted to be an architect." Joon-Woo looked at her, confused by the change of subject. His chest was heaving. "What does that matter now?" "Architects don't run away when the foundation shakes," Nia said, her voice softening. "They reinforce it. They build something stronger." She reached out and took his hand. His good hand. It was trembling. "I don't want a safe life in Lagos, Joon-Woo. I don't want a life where I wonder every day if you are alive or dead. I want to build a future. Here. With you." Joon-Woo stared at her. He looked at their joined hands. He looked at her face, searching for fear, searching for regret. He found only resolve. "You are a fool," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Maybe," Nia smiled, stepping into his space. "But I'm your fool." The dam broke. Joon-Woo groaned, a sound of defeat and desperation. He reached out with his good arm and pulled her against him. He didn't crush her this time. He held her like she was made of glass, like she was the most precious thing in the world. He buried his face in her hair, inhaling sharply. "I tried to let you go. I tried." "I know," Nia whispered, wrapping her arms around his waist. "But the gate was open. And I walked back in." He pulled back to look at her. The darkness in his eyes was gone, replaced by a fierce, burning light. "Then the gate stays shut," he vowed. Clause 4. "Nobody leaves." "Nobody leaves," Nia agreed. He kissed her. It wasn't like the almost kiss in the library. It was deep, consuming, and final. It was a promise sealed in breath and skin. Outside, the sun finally broke through the clouds, casting a beam of golden light through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing around them. The cage was gone. The fortress was gone. It was just a home. And the dragon had finally found his heart.
Oh. My. God. I am literally crying right now. Did you see that? She turned the car around. Architects don't run away, they build. That is the best line I have ever heard. And the way he said clause 4 at the end? Chills. Literally chills. So, Nia is officially the queen of the soul underworld now. I honestly feel bad for anyone who tries to mess with them. If you loved this story, smash that like button and comment Teen Dragon below. Thank you for listening to K-MAFIA Dark Romance. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.